Okay, thank you. So my presentation is very short. I had a classroom-based research on the writing task. So the problem was why students are so demotivated in the writing task. For example, when I assigned the students to write an essay or a story or any piece of creative writing, they seemed demotivated. Alright, some of the students scratch their heads, drop their pen on the table, desk, and they didn't seem as if they are going to write. So it was the problem, and I wanted to have a research about it. And for that, I had some exploratory research questions, right? Like how can I motivate my students in writing creative pieces? So it was the question that struck in my mind because all I needed was the motivation in part of the learners so that they could reflect and their thoughts, their ideas on the certain topics in the paper. Uh, can you please move on to the next slide? Yeah, so it was the problem in my classroom. Students lack of motivation in creative writing, no matter whether it's fiction or non-fiction. So when I assigned some tasks to my students, so they seemed uninterested, or maybe due to the lack of motivation, they didn't know it's just the problem. So I still had to do the research. That's why I had some questions in my mind. So it's exploratory research questions. Could you please move on to the next slide? Yeah. So this is my question. How can I motivate my students in writing creative pieces? I wanted motivation in part of the learners, and I think that's the great question to deal with. So I collected the data through various ways. Like I had focus group discussion with the students. Here I asked my students themselves what made them uninterested in the writing task, or what demotivated them. Why are they so much distracted from writing? They are very good at reading, they are very good at speaking, but they don't want writing. So I asked them about this. I conducted focus group discussion for that, and then after I talked with my colleagues at my school working place. So I interviewed them. So how they are in their subjects. It can be social studies, health education, many more where we need creativity in part of the learners. So I asked them and I collected the idea from them, and I even uh, consulted some internet resources. What could be some of the reasons behind demotivation in writing tasks in part of the learners? So I collected data, and the finding came like this: no clear instruction. Some of the teachers, for example, they said we just assigned them some topics, but the instruction wasn't clear. What would be the coverage of the topic? What should be included? Or and they even were not clear on the topic. So the next one was lack of exposure. For example, we assign tasks to the students, but we don't let them read plenty of books or plenty of text on the given topic. So we didn't give chance for them for the group discussion, or maybe consulting to the internet or the teachers or in friends with friends. So there was a lack of exposure and brainstorming, and that's what I got from the data collection and analyzing the data. I came up with this finding. And the next one was overt correction, where too much conscious about the mistakes students have done. So we are focusing not in the content, but on the grammatical things like your subject verb agreement is good, you have not chosen the correct over, something like that. So that was also impairing the students' motivation. And the next was lack of students' competency itself. So some of the students um, they are not very much good at selecting the right choice of vocabulary, or maybe or flowing them in the smooth language, the chain of grammar maybe. So uh, it is all about finding, and these four were the major findings that I got after collecting the data and analyzing them. And after I got that, now the next step. So what would I do in the classroom? These are steps to motivate students for creative writing are so with teachers and especially me because this is my case. So I need to give clear instruction for my students, and now I'm determined to provide them the plenty of exposure. I'll be taking students to the library. I'll ask them to consult the internet before they start writing, and then after they can consult with the teachers themselves, and they can later on after they write, then they can be gathered in some places on the weekly basis, and they can be asked to talk about the books if they have read the book. If they have read the stories, then they can be asked to write the stories and to reflect upon them in front of the groups, in front of their peers or other fellow students, their fellow friends. So then after that, we can assign the students similar kinds of writing tasks. So if they have prepared the stories, they have read the stories, we can ask them to write the stories. And if they have read the essays, we can ask them to write similar essays. So uh, we can assign them this kind of tasks, and this will surely motivate students in the writing tasks.